So let me do something different, all right? Let me try to take the least amount of time possible to explain every single skill and passive as quickly as possible with as much description as possible without going too much into the details of combos with other classes, okay? That's going to be my goal with this, okay? Here we go. So Swiftblade abilities, right? So first of all, important to mention that a lot of these abilities have both main hand and offhand attacks. These are things that you can see per individual ability, and a lot of the times they're actually per individual attack. For example, Relentless Assault has 4 different hits, where the first, second, and fourth hit all have a left-hand attack. The left-hand attack is literally based on the left hand's weapon DPS value, as if it was your main hand for that calculation in the combat log. And they even appear as a separate thing in the combat log as a completely separate attack. And it's why those attacks can also have 50% more crit damage applied to those specific attacks. You'll see that in the descriptions for all these. So overall, reading the descriptions of everything is incredibly important, although some of them are not fully described. And the only one will be Reverberate, which I'll get into. So first of all, Blade Flurry, the sort of bread and butter move of Swiftblade, which allows you to also teleport forward 5 meters. This is really important because the second and third attack of the basic Blade Flurry will also have an offhand attack, which again has that crit damage bonus. But it does teleport the caster 5 meters forward, even if there's a target in front of them. So you'll actually teleport past the enemy. This also applies Instinct, and Instinct is one of the most important buffs or debuffs rather, you can apply to somebody, because anytime anyone hits a player who has Instinct on them, applied by you, literally your friend can hit them. It'll give you a stack of Adrenaline Rush, up to 6 stacks, which last for 10 seconds. These Adrenaline Rush stacks give 5% movement speed and 500 defense penetration per stack, up to 30% movement speed and 3000 defense penetration, which is really good, and one of the more important things from Swiftblade. So Blade Flurry being able to cause that is important. Now Blade Flurry also has some other combos which reduce the target's attack speed by a little bit, but you'll notice they just kind of happen in the background. You won't be actually thinking about it too much. And the other big important thing about the Instinct debuff that this gives is that Instinct debuffs increase the damage dealt by Crescent Slice, Sinister Strike, Relentless Assault, and Twin Shadow Slash by 60%. Okay? This is new now. They've changed how Instinct stacks work. They actually stack twice still, however, every 3 seconds one stack goes away. The stacks do not go away anymore from Swiftblade attacks. They just stay there until both stacks are literally gone naturally, alright? So just applying 1 stack to somebody, it'll be there for 3 seconds, you could do a bunch of moves. If you apply 2 stacks to somebody, it'll be there for 6 seconds, because first the first stack has to go away, then the second one. This is a good explanation, at least in the background, of the Instinct debuff, and why it's important for everything, which you'll see in the combos for all these sorts of things, alright? Crescent Slice is another move, which you'll see most of these have extremely low cooldowns, but Crescent Slice is an AoE that allows you to apply Shaken to targets. Shaken does not slow people anymore, so you cannot combo it anymore with things that slow, like Whirlwind Slash. However, Distress still does. In fact, Crescent Slice, if used against a target that's already shaken, will cause Distress for 7 seconds. This is extremely powerful. Distress is one of the most powerful debuffs in the game, and something that Crescent Slice can still do. Also important to note that Blade Flurry has a combo now that hitting targets under the effects of Instinct reduces the cooldown of Crescent Slice by 30%. This isn't fully complete. It's the third hit. The third hit of Blade Flurry, if it hits a target who has Instinct, it'll reduce the cooldown of Crescent Slice by 30%. This actually allows you to get off 2 Crescent Slices if you are using Blade Flurry constantly to get a Distress off on the target or on a number of targets. If you do this within time, but it's really hard to actually pull that off. Alright? There's other combos here that are important too, especially because it also has a left-hand attack, and that left-hand attack again has extra crit damage applied to it. Sinister Strike is really nice because it allows you to essentially do a whole bunch of damage based on its combos, alright? So there's a combo when you attack somebody with it while in a Dusk Shroud, while invisible, throw it. There's a combo if you hit it against somebody who's sleeping, you get extra crit damage on them. And there's a combo to extend Impale duration. There's also the Wave version, which does the exact same thing, but only uses your left-hand attack, and this will actually not trigger a global cooldown, meaning you can actually do something else immediately. Like the moment you push this button, it'll do it, and also, you'll be able to click another button right away. What's important about Sinister Strike is that there's a passive called Insight of the Hawk. Anytime you do a critical hit, you get this buff for 5 seconds. Okay? Sinister Strike is what benefits from this. If you have this passive active for the 5 seconds because you crit somebody, and you use Sinister Strike, it will teleport you behind the target and hit them from there. This is a really good way to get close to somebody as well if you're within 4 meters already, to be able to really close the gap. But also, it's just a way to get behind somebody, similar to how Shadow Step works, right? Blink is also an extremely important mobility move with a ton of functionality, just an insane amount of functionality to Blink. Besides it having a really good range, especially with the extended range passive, but Blink itself allows you to teleport to a location and back to where you teleported from if you do it within 5 seconds. This is really nice because you can actually escape out of a situation after doing something. For example, jumping in, using Hellspear, and then teleporting out. There's a lot of situations where you can make that work. It also applies an Instinct stack on the target, and if the target is already under the effects of Instinct, and you use Blink on them, it'll just completely reset all the cooldowns for Crescent Slice, Sinister Strike, Relentless Assault, and Twin Shadow Slash. This also has some other effects that work with other different skills, like from Aromancy or from Witchcraft, which you can read into those as well. There's another version that I like personally because of the way that I play. This particular Mist version will allow you to teleport somewhere, and you'll actually be stealth for 1 second. This is nice because the effect does exist. So like the effect of using this blink does show where you came from, but no one will know where you teleported to. So if I blink from here over to behind me, no one will know that I'm there until I reveal myself or the stealth goes away, okay? So then we go into Relentless Assault, which is a massive DPS move with a very low cooldown. This again has multiple attacks, and now has a new combo which actually, hitting targets with this who already have Shackle on them will bring up a new Shackle on the target, or a second Shackle that lasts for 3 seconds. So if you use this right at the end, right before Shackle is going to end on somebody, it will actually give them a new Shackle for 3 seconds, which is kind of nice. And Shackle doesn't have any kind of diminishing returns on it, so it's pretty good. There's no way to like get immunity to Shackle just from using it a lot. This also has another combo where if you kill a target under the effects of Instinct with Relentless Assault, it'll just reset the cooldowns on both Blade Blast and Blink, so you get that back too if you can combo that way. Reverberate is one of the most powerful moves because it allows you to duplicate any other Swiftblade move if you use it within 3 seconds. Okay? For example, I can use it right now to blink, and then blink again. That's how Reverberate works. But there is a hidden combo on Reverberate. You don't know about this because it is not in this description, and it's new as of a couple weeks ago. If you kill a target by using Reverberate on some ability, for example, like Crescent Slice, if you kill a target with Reverberate's version of something, it will reset Reverberate. This is kind of cool because if you actually use it with Crescent Slice, the Crescent Slice combo still works. So if you kill somebody with Crescent Slice as a Reverberate, you get the Reverberate combo, which resets Reverberate, and you get the Crescent Slice combo, which, killing an effect under the effects of Instinct, resets Crescent Slice, Relentless Assault, Twin Shadow Slash, and Sinister Strike. So that's a cool little thing you can do to get almost all of your abilities back, including Reverberate, is if you time that correctly. Entangle is a ranged move for 15 meters that allows you to slow target from far away, and there's also a new thing that allows you to combo it to stun somebody who's under the effects of Summon Crows. This also snares targets that are already slowed, so that's kind of nice. Dust Shroud is a pretty cool move because you can put it somewhere, and you are stealthed within it. Another thing that's important is that if your enemies are inside of it with you, there is literally no way that they can target you. Even if they are staring at your face, they are in the Dust Shroud with you, which means they cannot see you, period. That's it. You can still, however, reveal yourself if you're inside the Dust Shroud and use any ability, but the most important thing is that Dust Shroud will obviously, get rid of your aggro, nobody will be targeting you. And there's another thing with this too, where other targets who are within this Dust Shroud, so your enemies who are within here, if they are shaken or distressed, I know it says shaken, but it's actually distressed as well, their accuracies are reduced by 50% for essentially the duration of the Dusk Shroud. So it's a good way to remove somebody's accuracy if they're within this Dusk Shroud. There's also some other combos that work with Witchcraft, or Fear's essentially the trip, so that's kind of nice. Fleeting Footsteps is a basic ability with no other versions. This essentially just decreases the slow durations by 50%. So anything that has a slow duration, for example, Entangle, Freezing Arrow that causes a slow for a certain duration, Charged Bolt, which causes a slow for a certain duration, those durations will be reduced by 50%, okay? So it's all right. Some people might use this, some people might not. Depends on your actual build. I think this is more of an archery targeted ability at this point. But you can use this ability whenever you want. It has a reduced global cooldown, and it could be used during a global cooldown. So going into a fight means that you'll be slowed a little bit less. I just don't see very many people using this, though. Maybe archers, if anybody, or maybe mages, I guess, but Blade Blast is another movement ability that allows you to essentially not teleport forward, but actually physically move your character forward, hitting everybody in the way, and applying Instinct to all of those people. This is kind of nice because, again, you can follow up with Instinct stacks. And another combo that this has is that it will actually snare targets that are slowed. So using something like Entangle into Blade Blast will actually snare those targets, right? That's kind of it for Blade Blast for the most part. It can also prevent fall damage, but unfortunately there's a bug right now where if you use it while falling, it will actually pick you and throw you back up into the air where you came from, so you kind of have to watch out for that. Some people will use Reverberate to use it twice, and that second Blade Blast will actually make you fall a little bit less into the air, and at least that way you're able to avoid some fall damage. Or people will use Blade Blast into Bell so that they can actually fall to the ground better and not actually take any fall damage. But yeah, that's mostly the utility for it. Primal Strike is another ability that has essentially just one purpose, very similar to how Fleeting Footsteps works. It just decreases the cooldown by 40% for Sinister Strike, Crescent Slice, Relentless Assault, and Twin Shadow Slash, and that's all it does. If they are currently on cooldown, it will reduce their cooldown by 40%. That's all that it does. So you can use all these things, pop Primal Strike, and for the most part, you're going to use them all again. This is more of a two-hander kind of gameplay. Two-handed players might be able to use Primal Strike to be able to do things a little bit more often, since they don't get the passive from Twin Strike Mastery, which I'll get into. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole thing with Primal Strike. Twin Shadow Slash is a massive DPS ability, and the last one from Swiftblade. It's also, again, just like everything else, kind of low cooldown, but it's changed quite a bit. So this allows you to actually hit a target twice. And this also now benefits from extended range of the Windwalker passive skill, so that you can actually use this from a farther away range. But it's nice because it does damage from your main hand as well as your offhand, and you can use the skill twice in a row. So you can actually use it once, and then pick another target and use it again, or pick the same target and use it again, and then you'll essentially teleport through them and hit them while you're doing it, okay? It makes it hard for people to actually hit you if you're constantly moving around in the battlefield. However, this has a lot of functionality in combos. Twin Shadow Slash will actually disable the bow of targets, to completely disable their bow, if that target is affected by Instinct. There's some other new things now too. Twin Shadow Slash will now actually shackle a target if they are impaled, and if the target is silenced, it will trigger another second silence for 3 seconds. So just like how Relentless Assault works with Shackle, Twin Shadow Slash will actually you might want to use it right as silence is about to end, so that it triggers a new silence for 3 seconds, right? So there's some merit there for Witchcraft or Occultism builds, or just, anyways, other builds that can silence, right? Occultism because of the Shackle, right? So that's it for the actual abilities themselves. The passives are, the first one is going to make it so that if you have dual-wielded weapons, your actual cooldowns on all Swiftblade abilities will be reduced by 30%, but don't count this out for two-handed because you can still play it as two-handed considering all the different ways to just completely reset the cooldowns on so many abilities. You can still do that with a two-handed weapon just fine, alright? Insight of the Hawk is nice, as I talked about before, for the Crescent Slice, teleport behind the enemy. Predatory Instinct allows you to just do 10% more damage to Swiftblade moves. Swiftblade skill damage increases. Adrenaline Rush, as we talked about, is the thing that you get as people attack your instincted target. You get this buff up to 6 stacks that gives you a bunch of movement speed and defense penetration. Windwalker, as we talked about, increases and doubles the range of Blade Blast, Blink, and Twin Shadow Slash. And then the last one is Rendering Mastery, which just means that if you have dual-wielded weapons, you get 16% extra melee crit damage. That's it. We did it. Probably took 15 minutes, but I hope that was worth it to somebody. And hopefully it was worth it to you, Sensitive. Alright, that has to be a highlight now. Ah, man, I didn't talk about the weapon things. Ah, whatever, I don't care. Fuck it, I don't care. I went a little bit into two-handed. I didn't talk about, dagger versus axe. There's like a million things to talk about with this stuff. That's the problem, is there is so much stuff here. And it is extremely... Can I repeat that?